Welcome everyone to another reading stream. It is the last horror stories reading stream because next week we will be returning to The Lord of the Rings with Return of the King. So we'll be finishing that truly. Well, technically it's which should have been published as 6 books, but it was published as a trilogy. So we'll be finishing the trilogy starting with book 5 beginning next Tuesday. Hopefully, I mean, I gotta look at, like, the chapters and chapter totals again. I'm hoping to finish Return of the King either well, probably not before Christmas, but at least around then. So, like, beginning next year, I will, move from Lord of the Rings, move from fantasy to more science fiction with Starship Troopers. So, but anyway. That's in the future. This is now reading the last 10 chapters of R.L. Stine, Goosebumps, Ghost Beach. So, appreciate the compliments. Thank you all so much. Say, I don't know. In time for Halloween. So, and then I have a few, well, I think a couple. We'll see how we go, but a couple stories marked in this. So you can see how, like, beating up this book is. It got a lot of love from me. So I read it a lot. But I have, like, a couple stories marked in it. So we gotta get through this first. But again, welcome everyone. Hope you enjoy listening to the reading live, and I hope you enjoy listening to the reading when you watch the replay. Appreciate it. But chapter 19. We spent the afternoon picking blueberries with Agatha. Then we made blueberry ice cream using an old-fashioned churn. It tasted better than any ice cream I'd ever eaten. Agatha said it was because we picked the blueberries ourselves. As it got closer to supper time, I started feeling more and more frightened. Were we really going to try to trap a ghost tonight? Slinging slasher? I don't know if that's serious or not. I've never heard that. But anyway. Dinner time finally came. I hardly ate a thing. When Agatha stared at me, I explained I had filled up on ice cream. After dinner, Terry and I helped Agatha with the dishes. Then Brad insisted on showing me how to tie sailor knots. By this time, my stomach felt more knotted up than Brad's rope. Oh, okay. Never really watched SpongeBob, but welcome everyone. Finally, Terry and I said we were going to the beach to get some fresh air, and we hurried out to meet our 3 friends. It was a clear, cloudless night. Thousands of stars twinkled overhead. A heavy dew was falling. The full moon made it easy to see without a flashlight. Terry and I paddled in silence along the path down to the beach. Neither of us felt like talking. I kept thinking about Mom and Dad's warning to me before we left home to keep Terry from getting into trouble. Well, we're in trouble now, I thought grimly. Deep trouble. Both of us. I'm going to ignore that last toxic mail. Maybe all 5 of us. Sam, Louisa, and Nat stood waiting at the edge of the shore. The moonlight made the dark water off the sparkle. I suddenly wished it weren't so bright out. What we were about to do needed darkness. The knots in my stomach seemed to tighten as I greeted our 3 friends. Sam raised a finger to his lips and motioned for us to follow him. Silently, we picked our way across the rocks to the base of the cave. Hey, look, I whispered, staring up at the cave. The light flickered brightly in the entrance. The ghost was home. I stared up at the cave and planned our route. We'd go up the same way we had the other night, but instead of entering the cave, we'd keep climbing around the side until we reached the top. Terry fidgeted beside me. Ready? I whispered. She nodded grimly. We'll wait down here, Sam whispered. If the ghost comes out, we'll be ready to distract him. Good luck. The 3 of them stood huddled together. Their expressions were tense, frightened. Nat gripped Louisa's hand. Bye, Terry, he said in a tiny voice. I think he had a little crush on her. See you in a few minutes, Terry whispered back to him. Don't worry, Nat. We'll get rid of that bad ghost. Come on, Jerry. My legs felt rubbery as Terry and I made our way over the rocks. We climbed steadily, carefully. I glanced back at Terry, a few feet behind me. She was breathing hard, her eyes narrowed in concentration. We reached the mouth of the cave. The light inside shone brightly. I pointed to our right. Terry nodded. She followed me up the rocks on the side of the cave. The rocks were damp from the evening dew and slippery. We were hunched on all fours as we climbed. It was steeper than I had thought. I struggled to keep from trembling. I knew that one slip could cause a rock slide. The ghost would know something was up. Hand over hand we climbed, carefully, steadily. I stopped to catch my breath and gazed down to the beach. Our three friends hadn't moved. Holding onto a rock with one hand, I waved to them with my other. Nat waved back. The other two remained still, staring up at Terry and me. I reached the smooth rock surface of the top of the cave. Turning, I held out my hand and helped Terry up onto the narrow ledge. Together we checked out the situation. The rocks we were supposed to roll over the mouth of the cave weren't as big as I'd thought. They were piled into a solid wall. It didn't seem that difficult to get behind them and push them over. As I started to move behind the rock wall, I caught a glimpse of our three friends down below. To my surprise, Sam was waving his arms and jumping up and down. Louisa and Nat were also motioning frantically. "What's wrong?" Terry cried. "Why are they doing that?" "They're trying to tell us something," I replied, feeling a chill of terror freeze every muscle. Had the ghost appeared in the cave mouth? Were Terry and I caught already? I took a deep breath and, ignoring my fear, leaned over the edge to peer down at the mouth of the cave. No one there. "Jerry, stand up," Terry cried. "You'll fall." I stood back up and peered down at the three kids. "Hey!" I cried out as I saw them running to the woods. A stab of terror made me gasp. "Something's gone wrong," I croaked. "Let's get out of here." I turned in time to see the ghost step up behind us. His entire body shimmered, pale in the bright moonlight. His vacant, sunken eyes glared angrily at us. He grabbed me by the shoulder and wrapped his other bony hand around Terry's wrist. "Come with me," he said in a dry whisper, a whisper of doom. He dragged us down to the cave entrance. He's so strong, I thought, so strong for someone old and frail looking. The rocks slid under my feet, a gray blur. The ground appeared to tilt and sway. Long shadows seemed to reach out to me, to pull me down. I tried to cry out, but my breath caught in my throat. I tried to jerk out of his grasp, but he was too strong for me. Terry uttered loud, sobbing gasps. She thrashed her arms, struggling to free herself. But the old ghost held her tightly. Before I knew it, we were stumbling through the dark, twisting tunnels. The flickering candlelight grew brighter up ahead. We were too frightened to fight him, too frightened to break away. My shoulder scraped against the narrow tunnel wall. Terror tightened my throat. I couldn't even cry out from the pain. The ghost released us as we reached the candlelit chamber. Glaring at us sternly, he motioned with a bony finger for us to follow him to the driftwood table. "Well, what are you going to do to us?" Terry managed to choke out. He didn't reply. He brushed the long, stringy white hair from over his face. Then he motioned for us to sit down on the floor. I dropped down quickly. My legs were shaking so hard. I was grateful not to have to stand. I glanced at my sister. Her lower lip was trembling. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap. The old ghost cleared his throat. He leaned heavily against the crude table. "You are both in serious trouble," he said in a thin, reedy voice. We didn't mean to do any harm," I blurted out. "It is dangerous to get involved with ghosts," he said, ignoring my words. "We'll go away," I offered desperately. "We'll never come back." "We didn't mean to disturb you," Terry added in a shrill voice. His sunken eyes suddenly widened in surprise. "Me?" A strange smile played across his pale face. "We won't tell anyone we saw you," I told him. His smile grew wider. "Me?" he repeated. He leaned forward on the large chunk of driftwood. "I'm not a ghost," he cried. "Your three friends are." "Huh?" I gaped at the old ghost in disbelief. His smile faded. "I'm telling you the truth," he said softly, rubbing his pale cheek with a bony hand. "You're trying to trick us," Terry replied. "Those three kids—" "They're not kids," the old man interrupted sharply. "They're over 350 years old." Terry and I exchanged glances. The blood was pounding so hard at my temples. I couldn't think clearly. "Allow me to introduce myself," the old man said, lowering himself onto the table edge. His lined face flickered in the shifting candlelight. "I'm Harrison Sadler." "Another Sadler," I blurted out. "We're Sadlers too," Terry cried. "I know," he said softly. He coughed a dry, hacking cough. "I came here from England quite a while ago," he told us. "In 1641?" I demanded. "He is a ghost," I realized with a shudder. My question seemed to amuse him. "I haven't been here that long," he replied dryly. "After college, I traced my ancestors here. I studied ghosts and the occult," he sighed. "It turned out there was plenty to study here." I stared hard at him, studying him. Could he possibly be telling the truth? Was he human, not a ghost? Or was this an evil trick? His black, sunken eyes didn't reveal anything to me. "Why did you drag us in here?" I demanded, climbing to my knees. To warn you, Harrison Sadler replied. To warn you about the ghosts. You're in great danger here. I have studied them. I've seen their evil. Terry let out a low cry. I couldn't tell if she believed the old man or not. I realized that I didn't believe him at all. His story didn't make any sense. I climbed to my feet. If you're a scientist studying the occult, I said, why are you shut up here in this weird cave? He slowly raised his hand and motioned toward the shadowy ceiling. This cave is a sanctuary, he murmured. Sanctuary? That was the word that Sam had used. Once inside the cave, Harrison explained, ghosts cannot escape through the rocks. So that means you're trapped in here, I insisted. His eyes narrowed at me. My plan is to trap the ghosts in here, he replied softly. That is why I stacked the rocks above the entrance. I hope someday to trap them in here forever. I turned to my sister. She stared thoughtfully at Harrison. But why are you living here? I demanded. I'm safe here, he replied. The sanctuary keeps me safe. The ghosts cannot surprise me by coming through the rocks. Didn't you wonder why they sent you up here instead of coming up themselves? They sent us up here because they're terrified of you, I shouted, forgetting my fear. They sent us up here because you're the ghost. His expression changed. He pushed himself away from the driftwood table and moved quickly toward Terry and me. His team-sunken eyes glowed like dark coals. What are you going to do? I cried. Harrison took another menacing step toward us. You don't believe me, do you? He accused. Terry and I were too frightened to answer. Again, welcome everyone. But what are you going to do? I repeated, my voice tiny and shrill. He glared at us for a long moment, the candlelight flickering over his pale face. I'm going to let you go, he said finally. Alright. Alright. Here. Terry let out a cry of surprise. I edged back toward the tunnel. I'm going to let you go, Harrison Sadler repeated, so that you can examine the east corner of the old graveyard. He waved a bony hand. Go. Go now, to the graveyard. You're really letting us go? I stammered. Once you've seen the east corner, you'll come back, Harrison replied mysteriously. You'll come back. No way, I thought, my heart pounding. No way I'll ever come near this frightening cave again. Go, the old ghost cried. Terry and I spun around and scrambled out of his chamber. Neither of us looked back. As we hurried out of the cave and down the rocks, I couldn't get Harrison's face out of my mind. I kept picturing his glowing evil eyes, his long stringy hair, his yellow teeth when he flashed out that eerie smile. With a shudder, I remembered the inhuman strength of his grip as he dragged Terry and me into his chamber. I also couldn't stop thinking about Sam, Louisa, and Nat. There was no way they were ghosts. They were our friends. They had tried to warn Terry and me about that the ghost was sneaking up behind us. They said they'd been terrified of Harrison their whole lives. And I remembered Nat's sad face as he told us how much he was scared of ghosts. Harrison Sadler is a liar, I thought bitterly. A 350-year-old ghost of a liar. Down on the beach, Terry and I stopped to catch our breath. He's so scary, Terry gasped. I couldn't believe he let us go, I replied, bending over, pressing my hands against my knees, waiting for the sharp pain in my side to fade. I searched for our three friends, but they were nowhere to be seen. Are we going to the graveyard? I asked. I know what he wants us to see, Terry replied, gazing back up at the dark cave. I know why he wants us to go check out the east corner. That's where we found the gravestones for Louisa, Nat, and Sam. Yeah, so? Harrison is just trying to scare us. He thinks if we see the old graves, it'll prove us that Louisa, Nat, and Sam are ghosts. We already know the truth about those old graves, I said. We stepped off the beach and into the trees. The air grew cooler. Moonlight trickling through the branches overhead made strange shadows stretch over across our path. We reached the cemetery entrance and stopped. Might as well check it out, Terry murmured. I followed her through the graveyard, stepping over footstones and loose brush as we made our way to the east corner. A pale beam of moonlight played over the three old Sadler kids' graves. See anything strange? Terry whispered. My eyes roamed over the area. Nope. We stepped up to the Sadler kids' graves. Those look the same as yesterday, I said. Neat, square. Whoa! Something caught my eye in the corner. What's your problem? Terry demanded. My eyes struggled to see in the pale light. I think there's something. Huh? Do you see something? Terry cried. Some fresh dirt, I said, in the corner. On the other side of that fallen tree. It looks like a fresh grave. No way, said Terry. I've checked out all these gravestones. No one's been buried in here for the last 50 years. We took a couple of steps toward the fallen tree. Jerry, you're right, it is a grave, Terry whispered. A fresh grave. We stepped over the fallen tree trunk, keeping close together. A narrow shaft of moonlight lit up the freshly dug ground. It's two graves, I gasped. Two fresh graves with little markers on them. I squatted down to try to read them. Terry moved behind me. What do they say, Jerry? My mouth went dry. I couldn't answer her. Jerry, can you read them? Yes, I finally choked out. It's us, Terry. The names on these markers read Jerry Sadler and Terry Sadler. What does this mean? I stammered. Who dug these graves? Terry asked. Who put up these markers? Let's get out of here, I urged, grabbing her arm. Let's go tell Agatha and Brad. Terry hesitated. We have to, I insisted. We have to tell we have to tell them everything. We should have told them a long time ago. Okay, Terry agreed. I turned to leave, and gasped when I saw the three figures staring at us from the shadows. Time of year where it's allergies. Plus, I have a cat on my bed. I'm allergic to cats, but... Sam stepped quickly over the fallen tree. Where are you going? He asked. What are you doing here? Louisa and Nat followed close behind him. We're going back to the cottage, I told them. It's late, and... Did you kill the ghost? Nat demanded. His eyes peered up at me hopefully. I patted his hair. It felt real. His head was warm. It didn't feel like ghost-like at all. He was a real little boy. Harrison Sadler is a total liar, I thought. Did you kill the old ghost? Nat repeated eagerly. No, we couldn't, I told him. Nat let out a disappointed sigh. Then how did you get away? Sam demanded suspiciously. Sorry, we ran away, Terry told him. It was almost the truth. Where were you guys? I demanded. Yeah, we didn't. You didn't do a very good job of distracting him, Terry added sharply. We tried to warn you, Louisa replied, tugging her stay at a strand of long auburn hair. Then we got scared. We ran to the woods and hid. When we didn't hear the rocks fall, we got even more scared, Sam added. We were afraid the ghost got you. We were afraid we would never see you again. Nat uttered a frightened sob and took Louisa's hand. We have to kill the ghost, the little guy whimpered. We have to. Sam and Louisa tried to comfort their little brother. I gazed down at the two fresh graves. The cool wind made the trees whisper and shake. I started to ask Sam about the two graves, but he spoke before I had a chance. Let's try again, he said, staring hard at Terry, then me, with pleading eyes. Louisa rested her hands on Nat's tiny shoulders. Yes, she agreed softly. Let's go back and try again. No way, I cried. Terry and I got away from there once. I'm not going back and... But it's the perfect time, Louisa insisted. He'll never expect you to come back tonight. We'll catch him completely off guard. It'll be a total surprise. Please, Nat begged in a tiny voice. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. I couldn't believe they were asking us to do this. Terry and I had risked our lives by climbing up there. We could have been killed by that lying old ghost. We could look like that horrible dog skeleton right now. And here they were, asking us to climb right back up there and try again. It was a ridiculous idea. No way I would agree to it. No way. Okay, I heard my sister say. We'll do it. Louisa and her brothers burst into happy cheers. Terry had done it to me again. Terry led the way to the beach. I scrambled to catch up with her. The three Sadlers, talking excitedly among themselves, trailed behind. The night suddenly seemed darker, as if someone had dimmed the lights. I raised my eyes, searching for the full moon, but it disappeared behind heavy clouds. I felt a large raindrop on my shoulder, then another on the top of my head. The wind picked up as we neared the ocean. Are you totally crazy? I whispered to my sister as we made our way over the pebbly sand toward the cave. How could you agree to do this? We have to solve the mystery, Terry replied, glancing up at the cave. It sat darkly above the rocks. No flickering lights, no sign of the old ghost. This isn't one of your dumb mystery books, I told her angrily. This is real life. We could be in terrible danger. We already are, she replied mysteriously. She said something else, but the strong wind off the ocean carried her words away. The raindrops started to come down faster, large, heavy drops. Stop, Terry, I demanded. Let's turn back. Let's tell the kids we changed our minds. She shook her head. Let's at least go back to the cottage and tell Agatha and Brad, I pleaded. We can trap the ghost tomorrow, during the day, maybe. Terry kept walking. She picked up the pace. We have to solve the mystery, Jerry, she said again. Those two fresh graves, they really scared me. I have to find out the truth. But Terry, the truth is we might get killed, I cried. Again, Dan, it's like you want to be physically assaulted. Anyway. She didn't seem to hear. I brushed raindrops from my eyebrows. The gusting winds were swirling the rain around us. The rain pattered against the rocks, sounding like sharp drum beats. We stopped at the bottom of the rocks. Up above, the cave stood over us, still completely dark. We'll wait down here, Sam said. His eyes kept darting up to the cave. I could tell he was really frightened. This time he'll do a better job of distracting the ghost if he comes out. He better not come out, I muttered, lowering my head against the falling rain. A jagged bolt of white lightning crackled across the sky. I shivered. Come up with us, Terry told the three of them. You can't help us way down here. They hung back. I could see the fear on their faces. Come up to the cave entrance, Terry urged. You can always run down the rocks so the ghost appears. Louisa Louisa shook her head. We're too afraid, she confessed. We need your help, Terry insisted. We don't want the ghost to know we're on the top of the cave. Come stand on the ledge in front of the cave. Then... No! He'll hurt us! He'll eat us up! Nat cried. Jerry and I can't go up there again unless you come up to help us, Terry insisted firmly. Louisa and Sam exchanged frightened glances. Nat clung to Louisa, trembling. The rain swept down harder. Finally, Sam nodded. Okay, we'll wait for you at the cave mouth. We don't mean to be so frightened, Louisa added. It's just that we've been afraid of him our whole lives. Her voice trailed off. We turned and started our climb. It was much harder this time. It was so much darker without the moon. Rain kept blowing into my eyes, and the rocks were slippery and wet. I stumbled twice, fell forward, scraping my knees and elbows. The wet rocks kept sliding under my sneakers, rolling down toward the beach. Another jagged bolt of lightning stretched across the sky, making the cave glow white above us. We stopped at the ledge in front of the dark cave mouth. My entire body trembled. From the rain, from the cold, from fear. Let's just warm up inside for a moment, Terry suggested. The three saddlers clung together. No, we can't. We're too scared, Louisa replied. Just for a second, Terry insisted. Just to wipe the rain from our eyes. Look, it's coming down in sheets. She practically shoved Louisa and her brothers into the cave. Nat began to cry. He held on tightly to his sister. A roar of thunder made us all jump. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done, I thought, shivering. I will never forgive Terry for this. Never. And then a yellow light flared in front of us at the mouth of the cave, and under the yellow light, an old ghost flickered into view. He carried a flaming torch in one hand. A strange smile played over his pale face. Well, well, he uttered in a voice just loud enough to be heard over the rain. Here we all are. No! Nat let out a terrified wail and tried to bury his head in his sister's wet t-shirt. Sam and Louisa froze like statues. The flickering light of the torch revealed expressions of horror on their faces. Harrison Sadler stood in the cave entrance, blocking our escape. His dark, sunken eyes peered from one of us to the next. Behind him, the rain crashed down, glowing eerily from flashes of bright lightning. He turned his attention to Terry and me. You brought the ghost to me, he said. You're the ghost, Sam cried. Nat wailed, his arms wrapped tightly around Louisa's waist. You have terrified people long enough, the old man told the three trembling kids. More than 300 years. It is time for you to leave this place. Time for you to rest. He's crazy, Louisa cried to me. Don't listen to him. Don't let him fool you, Sam added with emotion. Look at him. Look at his eyes. Look where he lives, all alone in this dark cave. He is the 300-year-old ghost, and he's lying to you. Don't hurt us, Nat wailed, clinging to Louisa. Please don't hurt us. The rain suddenly slowed. Water splattered off the rocks outside and dripped steadily from the top of the cave. Thunder rumbled. But in the distance, the storm was moving out to sea. I turned and caught the strangest expression on my sister's face. To my surprise, Terry was actually smiling. She caught me staring at her. The solution, she whispered. And I suddenly realized why she had agreed to come back to the frightening cave, to face the frightening old man again. Terry wanted to solve the mystery. She needed to solve it. Who was the ghost? Was it Harrison Sadler? Or was Harrison telling us the truth? Were our three friends the ghosts? My sister is really crazy, I thought, shaking my head. She risked our lives because she had to solve the mystery. Let us go, Sam told the old man, breaking into my thoughts. Let us go and we won't tell anyone we saw the ghost. The torchlight dipped low as a strong gust of wind invaded the cave. Harrison's eyes seemed to grow darker. I've waited too long to get you here, he said quietly. Louisa suddenly reached out to Terry. Help us, she cried. You believe us, don't you? You know we're alive, not ghosts, Sam said to me. Help us get away from him. He's evil, Jerry. We've seen his evil our whole lives. I turned from Harrison to the three kids. Who was telling the truth? Who was alive, and who had been dead for over 300 years? Harrison's face hovered darkly in the dipping, waving torchlight. He pushed his long, stringy hair off his forehead with his free hand. And then he startled us all by puckering his dried lips and letting out a long, high-pitched whistle. My heart skipped a beat. I gasped. What was he doing? Why was he making that shrill sound? He stopped, then whistled again. I heard the scraping of footsteps, rapid footsteps on the stone cave floor, and then a low, dark figure came loping toward us out of the darkness. We'll take a break there to take a drink. Sorry. It's gonna have to be a Mountain Dew because I have my water downstairs. Anyway. A monster, I thought. A ghost monster. It uttered low, menacing growls as it neared. Its head bobbed low, and two red eyes flared as the creature bounded into the light of the flaming torch. Oh, I cried as I saw it was a dog. A long, lean German shepherd. The dog stopped a few feet in front of us. When it saw Harrison, it bared its teeth. Its growl became a ferocious snarl. Dogs can recognize ghosts, I remembered. Dogs can recognize ghosts. The dog's red eyes caught the light of the torch as it turned to Louisa and her two brothers. It reared back on its hind legs and began to howl and bark. There the ghost, Harrison Sadler cried triumphantly to Terry and me, pointing. Snarling, the big dog leaped at Sam. With a cry of fright, Sam raised both arms to shield himself. The three kids edged deeper into the cave. The dog barked fiercely, baring its jagged teeth. Sorry to yell at someone. Okay, where did I leave off? The three kids edged deeper into the cave. The dog barked fiercely, baring its jagged teeth. You really are ghosts, I cried out. Louisa let out a pained sigh. We never had a chance to live, she cried. The first winter, it was so horrible. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I saw that Nat was crying too. The dog continued to snarl and rage. The three kids backed farther into the dark chamber. We sailed here with our parents to start a new life, Sam explained in a trembling voice. But we all died in the cold. It wasn't fair. It just wasn't fair. The rain started up again. The wind blew sheets of water into the cave entrance. The torch flame dipped and nearly blew out. We never had a life at all, Louisa cried. Thunder roared. The cave seemed to shake. The dog growled and snarled. And as I stared at the three kids into the wavering light, they began to change. Their hair dropped off first. It fell in clumps to the cave floor, and then their skin peeled away, curling up and falling off until three grinning skulls stared at Terry and me through empty eye sockets. Come stay with us, cousins, Louisa Skull whispered. Her bony fingers reached out toward us. Join us, Sam hissed. His fleshless jaw slid up and down. We dug such nice graves for you, so close to ours. Play with me, Nat Skull pleaded. Stay and play with me. I don't want you to go. Ever. The three ghosts moved toward us, their skeleton hands outstretched, reaching for Terry and me. I gasped and stumbled back. I saw a frightened Harrison stagger back too, and then the torch blew out. The torchlight flickered and died. The heavy darkness made me gasp. I could feel bodies moving, scraping over the wet stone cave floor. I could hear the whispered pleas of the three ghosts. Closer, closer, and then the cold hand gripped mine. I screamed before I heard her whispered voice. Jerry, run! Terry, before I could catch my breath, my sister was pulling me through the darkness, into the rain, into the slippery rock ledge. Run, run, Terry cried, her eyes wild, her cold hand still gripping mine. Run, run! The word became a desperate chant. Run, run! But as we struggled to lower ourselves down the rocks, the roar of thunder drowned out Terry's shouts. The ground shook. My legs nearly slid out from under me. I cried out when I realized the roar in my ears wasn't thunder. Half blinded by the rain, Terry and I spun around in time to see the rocks topple from the top of the cave. The rain and wind must have loosened them, and now the big boulders rumbled down, crackling, knocking against each other, bumping and rolling, rock after rock, thudding onto the stone ledge, until the dark cave mouth was completely covered. Shielding my eyes from the rain with both hands, I peered up at the cave and waited. Waited to see if anyone would come out, but no one did. No ghostly kids, no old man. Harrison Sadler had given his life to capture the ghosts. The cave glimmered white in a flash of lightning. Now it was my turn to pull Terry away. Let's go, I pleaded. But she didn't budge. She stood staring through the rain at the closed-up cave. Terry, please, let's go. It's over, I said, tugging her away. The mystery is solved. The terror, it's all over. A few minutes later, Agatha threw open the front door of the cottage and rushed out to greet us. Where were you? Brad and I were worried sick. She ushered us in, fussing over us, shaking her head, talking excitedly, glad we were back safe and sound. Terry and I got dried off and in clean clothes. The rain had stopped by the time we joined Brad and Agatha in the kitchen for steaming mugs of hot cider. Outside the kitchen window, the wind still blew the trees, sending water cascading down from the leaves. Now tell us what happened to you, Brad said. Agatha and I really were terribly upset that you were out in the storm. It's kind of a long story, I told him, warming my hands on the hot cider mug. I don't know where to start. Start at the beginning, Brad said quietly. That's usually the best place. Terry and I did our best to tell them the whole story of the three ghostly kids, the old man, the frightening cave, and as we talked, I could see their expressions changing. I could see how worried they were for Terry and me. I could see how unhappy they were that we had ignored their wishes and ventured into the cave. When I finished the story, the room grew quiet. Brad stood out the window at the dripping rainwater on the glass. Agatha cleared her throat, but didn't speak. We're really sorry, Terry said, breaking the silence. I hope you're not angry with us. The important thing is that you're both safe and sound, Agatha replied. She stood up, stepped over to Terry, and gave her a warm hug. Agatha started toward me, her arms outstretched, when a sound outside made her stop. Barking. Loud dog barking. Terry lunged for the back door and pulled it open. Terry, look! She cried. It's Harrison Sadler's dog. He got out of the cave. He must have followed us here. I moved to the open doorway. The dog had been drenched in the rain. Its wet gray fur was matted to its back. Terry and I reached out to pet the dog, but to our surprise, it reared back and growled. Easy boy, I said. You must be really frightened, huh? The dog snarled at me and started to bark. Terry bent down and tried to soothe the animal, but it backed away from her, barking ferociously. Whoa, I cried. I'm your friend, remember? I'm no ghost. Terry turned to me, her expression puzzled. You're right. We're not ghosts. Why is it carrying on like that? I struggled. Whoa, easy boy, easy. The dog ignored my pleas, barking and howling. I turned back to see Brad and Agatha huddled against the kitchen wall, their faces tight with fear. That's only Brad and Agatha, I told the dog. They're nice people. They won't hurt you. And then I swallowed hard. My heart began to throb. I realized why the dog was barking like that. He was barking at Brad and Agatha. Agatha stepped into the doorway, shaking her finger at the snarling animal. Bad dog, she cried. Bad dog. Now you've given away our secret, too. Terry gasped. She realized what Agatha was saying. Agatha slammed the kitchen door hard, turned back to Brad. What a pity that dog had to show up, she said, shaking her head fretfully. Now what do we do with these two kids, Brad? What do we do with the kids? And that's it. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. So, the three children were ghosts. Brad and Agatha were ghosts. Gotcha. Taking a swig of Mountain Dew for my throat. And I'm going to read a couple stories from the More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Yeah, the ending's arc. I forgot the arc kind of sudden. Not because you're expecting for some type of resolution, but you know, typically with R.L. Stine, with the Goosebumps books, it's always a cliffhanger. So it's kind of up to you to determine what happens. Anyway, because I have a couple of stories, they're really short. Because these stories aren't long at all in these books. But I have a couple to read, kind of round out this stream, because it's the last horror reading stream of the year before I said returning to Return of the King next week. So, this story is entitled The Wreck. Okay, again, it's More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and this one's entitled The Wreck. Fred and Jean went to the same high school, but they met for the first time at the Christmas dance. Fred had come by himself, and so had Jean. Soon, Fred decided that Jean was one of the nicest girls he had ever met. They danced together most of the evening. At 11 o'clock, Jean said, I have to leave now. Can you give me a ride? Sure, he said. I've got to go home, too. I accidentally drove my car into a tree on my way over here, Jean said. I guess I wasn't paying attention. Fred drove her to the head of Brady Road. It was in a neighborhood that he didn't know very well. Why don't you drop me off here, Jean said. The road up ahead is in really bad condition. I can walk from here. Fred stopped the car and held out some tinsel. Have some, he said. I got it at the dance. Thank you, she said. I'll put it in my hair. And she did. Would you like to go out sometime to a movie or something, Fred asked. That would be fun, Jean said. After Fred drove off, he realized that he did not know Jean's last name or her telephone number. I'll go back, he thought. The road can't be that bad. He drove slowly down Brady Road, through a thick woods, but there wasn't a sign of Jean. As he came around a curve, he saw the wreckage of a car ahead. It had crashed into a tree and had caught fire. Smoke was still rising from it. As Fred made his way to the car, he could see someone trapped inside, crushed against the steering wheel column. It was Jean. In her hair was the Christmas tinsel he had given her. Oh. Lordy, lordy, ghost stories, good lordy. Alright. This one is really short. This one's really short. Like I said, these two are really short. Alright? Because like most of the stories in this book are really short. This one is called Wonderful Sausage. Wonderful Sausage. Oh. You want to hear Dark Tray? One dark, rainy Saturday afternoon, a fat and jolly butcher named Samuel Blunt had an argument over money with his wife Eloise. Blunt lost his temper and killed Eloise. Then he ground her up into sausage meat and buried her bones under the big flat rock in the backyard. To keep the murder a secret, he told everyone she had moved away. Blunt mixed his new sausage meat with pork, then seasoned it with salt and pepper, added some sage and thyme and a bit of garlic. To give it a special flavor, he smoked it in his smokehouse for a while. He called it Blunt's Special Sausage. There was such a demand for this new sausage that Blunt bought the best hogs he could find and started raising his own pork. He also kept a sharp lookout for humans who might make a tasty sausage meat. One day, a nice plump schoolteacher came into his shop. Blunt grabbed her and ground her up. Another time, Blunt's dentist came by. He was a little round man, and into the grinder he went. Then one by one, the children in the neighborhood began to disappear. And so did their kittens and puppies. But no one ever dreamed that Blunt, the butcher, had anything to do with it. Things went on that way for years. Then one day, Blunt made a mistake. A fat boy came into the butcher shop. Blunt grabbed him and started to drag him off to the sausage grinder. But the boy broke loose and ran out of the shop, and Blunt chased after him, waving a big butcher knife. When people saw this, they realized at once what had become of all the missing children and grown-ups and kittens and puppies. An angry crowd gathered at the butcher shop. No one knows for sure just what happened to Blunt that day. Some say he was fed to his hogs. Others say he was fed to his sausage grinder. But he was never seen again, and neither was his wonderful sausage meat. Told you. You want to talk dark? That's a little dark. Anyway, yes, but they're really short. They're really short, and somewhere I have the scary stories to tell in the dark. This is a more scary stories book. Nothing against it. I just know I had the first one somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So there it is. And if you have a chance to find these books anywhere, like probably Thrift Shop, something like that, I picked them up because these are really good. These were our horror stories growing up when we were little. And yes, I did watch the first episode of Welcome to Derry. It piqued my interest enough to continue watching it. I did not hear any spoilers, but the impression I'm getting is they could be good or bad depending on how you take them. But I did not hear the exact spoilers. Because I don't want to know them. They're releasing the episodes weekly. It's definitely has creepy shit. I think it's a bit more over the top than I think it should be because, I mean, when I say over the top, I mean, like, it seems like Pennywise is, like, a little bit more creative in this one than, like, he has been portrayed. So I think it's, like, it piqued my interest enough. Like, you know, it wasn't great, necessarily. It wasn't, like, you know, spectacular. But, like I said, you know what? I'm going to watch episode 2. It's coming, like, it's going to drop Friday. Even though it's being released weekly, it's going to drop Friday. I don't know if I'm going to dress up for Halloween or not. Definitely not on Halloween night. I'm not going to be dressing up on Halloween night. I don't think I'm going to be dressing up per se. The Thursday before Halloween, I might just like try to go full goth in appearance the day before Halloween. But you know, this week is kind of like difficult for me to be able to dress up. So. Yeah, it wasn't scary. It was just creepy, and I think like a bit too over the top because, like, you know, like Pennywise is scary. He's scary, but he never really came across as like necessarily over the top. Like just like, you know, just never really came across as like that kind of stuff. Well, I'm fine with the racism stuff. When I say I'm fine with it, basically, I'm more or less because it is the time period. It is 1962, so it's kind of like, is it necessary? No, it's not necessary. But it is set in 1962, and it's not exactly something that, like, you know, it's not unexpected. Is it needed? No. Fuck sakes, no. It's not needed. And I'm kind of over it too, but at the same time, it's like you kind of can't escape it given the time period. So, I can buy it. I can. What I would say is, was unnecessary, despite it being in the book, was for us to accept the beginning of its chapter 2 with the 2 gay men. Again, I'm going to preface this by saying I know what's in the book. I know what's in the book. Alright? Okay? But the book was set in a different time period. So I'm like, that time period, I'm like, okay, I can buy there being that attitude towards homosexuals. Alright? I can buy that because that was the time period. You don't have to like it, that's history, but that was the time period. But you're going to expect me to believe that in 2017, when the second movie's supposed to be set, 16, 17, that there's going to be those attitudes. I'm like, no, I'm not buying that. That was stupid. That was pointless. That was completely... That was unnecessary, despite it being in the book. But the racism stuff, I can... That, I'm like, okay. Is it needed again? No. We do not need to see it. But it is set in 1962. So, to see it is not exactly unexpected, given the time period. So, when I say I'm fine with that, I mean I'm fine with it because it is historically accurate. Pretty much. A lot more than trying to buy that setting I just described in the 2017 movie. Alright. But anyway, so, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be dressing up this week for Halloween, because it is, like, with life happening, it is not that easy for me to do so, but I'm going to be a bit more goth on Thursday, because I'm replaying Massacre at the Mirage. So I'll be replaying that game on Thursday. Tomorrow will be Borderlands, so I'll be playing more Borderlands. I'm going to try doing maybe 1 or 2 more bounties, just to get some XP, and then maybe try to get into Crom's territory now that I have that rocket launcher that has the corrosion ability. And then Friday, no stream. It's Halloween, basically. I'm not going to be able to stream. I don't know what I'm going to do Saturday. Because Saturday night's main event is not until a week from this Saturday, right? It's not until, like, the 9th or the 8th, right? Or when is Saturday night's main event? This Saturday? You sure? Hold on. I'm probably thinking about something else. Okay, November 1st. Alright. I was thinking of something else. What was the thing that's also in November? Oh, it's Survivor Series, right? That should be November, right? That's what I'm thinking of. That's later. Am I correct? War Games? That's what I'm thinking of. Because my mind was like, that date. Yeah, I was thinking like that date, kind of. And I was like thinking like, oh, Saturday night's main event is like later in the month. Alright, so... Okay, so watch party, essentially, Saturday evening. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stream or not Saturday afternoon. We'll see. And I'll figure it out moving forward, like the streaming schedule and so forth, because, Sunday is Daylight Savings Time. Yay me. But anyway, chat, thank you all for hanging out with me during this reading stream, and I hope you enjoyed listening to the rest of R.L. Stine's Goosebumps book, Ghost Beach, as well as the 2 stories I read from More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So, again, tomorrow is back to Borderlands. Thursday is Massacre at the Mirage, 2 gaming streams. Friday, happy Halloween if I do not see you before then. No streams on Halloween. Saturday, I'll try a stream in the afternoon. We'll see, but definitely going to be watching Saturday night's main event later on that evening. And I'll figure out about Sunday. So take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world. And I will see you all tomorrow for some Borderlands mayhem on Hump Day. Peace.